This Hispanic Heritage Month, we're passing the mic to our Latino neighbors, sharing culture by sharing history.
Touching in their hearts, knowing that our fathers who started this were Mexican Americans, fought for our country.
And also looking to the future.
So they need to have diverse spaces to reflect the audience that the community is becoming.
We're offering a platform to highlight what matters most.
To be able to share the culture with people that haven't experienced it, you know, share parts of myself with somebody, it just means so much.
Hello, I'm Sarah Plake. Bienvenidos and welcome to our Hispanic Heritage Month special. For the next half hour, we'll be taking the time to highlight some of the stories that we've shared throughout the past month that shine a light on our Hispanic community. So to kick off our coverage, we're hearing from those forced to leave their native countries and start all over. Artists and poets shared their stories with KSHB 41's Alyssa Jackson.
3 people, all from different countries, have something in common: finding belonging.
I'm a first-gen American. I'm Haitian and Cuban, and for a long part of my life, I never felt like I could even call myself Cuban, right? Because, you know, I'm black, right? So like that there's that like invalidation and imposter syndrome. But then even for like a longer period of my life, I didn't have a home.
It doesn't matter how long have you been out of your country. I think the idea that you are not from the place that you are right now, it never leaves you.
I've always felt a stranger in a strange land.
As a poet from Colombia.
El negro Casimiro, el mulato sin foros, el pardor, midwives at the birth of tango.
Jose Faust came to America at 9 years old.
That last line really, I think, talks about that idea of exile, this incredible longing for something that may be totally different from when you knew it as a child.
He was forced out of one culture only to have to adjust to another.
I didn't realize that brown was something that made you stand out.
Pedro Molina is a journalist who immigrated from Nicaragua, and his cartoons speak louder than anything he can write on paper.
It's kind of disappointing to find out that between my first and my second exile, 30 years passed, and very little changed. And it's quite depressing, and it's a challenge to keep hope for yourself in order to give it to other people, to give it to the people who are still inside Nicaragua and want to see a free country.
Bringing them all together is the idea that being exiled doesn't mean you can't find home.
You are not alone, that the hard things that you have been forced to face, you are not the only one who has been going through all that kind of stuff.
In Kansas City, Alyssa Jackson, KSHB 41 News.
Event organizers donated all the proceeds from that event to advocates for immigrant rights and reconciliation. Minority artists have had several opportunities to show what they have to offer in Kansas City. That's what the Latino Foundation for the Arts hopes to facilitate. The nonprofit held its first fundraiser at Made Mob during Hispanic Heritage Month. Work from up-and-coming artists in Kansas City's Latino community were on full display. The Made Mob exhibit was a small taste of the talent in KC, often on display during First Friday events.
We have artists, lowriders, music, dancers, sponsors, food, everything in we're a Chicano Latino culture, and we come out and celebrate it.
All money made from the art went directly to those artists. Tickets and other sales at the event went towards summer art mentoring programs. Presidential campaigns are starting to ramp up, and immigration is expected to be a key focus in the 2024 election. We wanted to hear directly from someone who completed the process to become a U.S. citizen. KSHB 41 News reporter Abby Dodge attended a naturalization ceremony and shares one woman's path to citizenship.
That I will support and defend, and that I take this obligation freely.
The final steps to citizenship, taken in Union Station's Grand Hall, came with grand emotions for some.
Everything is changing for the good.
Carolina Grady is now a U.S. citizen. but her path to this oath was a decade in the making.
When my mom started the process, my sister and my mom, we never thought that we would be able to reach this point of citizenship, so it is very emotional.
Carolina waited in El Salvador for 5 years, hoping to gain residency, allowing her to legally move in with her grandmother already in the States. In the years right before she left, she says the local gang threatened to kidnap and kill her if her family didn't pay a ransom. Carolina left when she was 15.
It was horrible because I was like always alert and scared.
Now a mother of 2, she smiles when talking about her daughter's futures.
It's like freedom for them because they can do whatever they want to do. They don't have to be scared of anything.
Her tears, a mixture of emotions, past and present.
I don't know how to describe this feeling. First of all, grateful because of my family and my husband, my daughters, and I feel like this is a new accomplishment.
Summed up in a single, overwhelming feeling of a journey completed.
Happy.
Abby Dodge, KSHB 41 News.
We wanted to see if Kansas Cityans have what it takes to pass the U.S. citizenship test. You can head over to our Instagram and Facebook pages where we quiz them on their civics knowledge. Coming up, America's pastimes celebrated across cultures. Find out how Latinos helped establish baseball culture here in Kansas City. In KCK's Argentine neighborhood, baseball is synonymous with history, community, culture, and progress. Our reporter Gian Kim introduces us to the people working to keep the love of the game alive.
In Spanish, they're called the Los Sabios.
Instead of calling them old timers, we say, the wise ones.
Scattered in front of us and along these walls is a timeline that tells the stories of these wise ones, the first Mexican immigrants in Kansas City, Kansas.
Kansas City, sort of the gateway to the West because of the Santa Fe Trail, for example.
Historian Jean T. Chavez and I are in the Argentine neighborhood of KCK. The largest migration of Mexicans coming to the U.S. settled here after fleeing during the Mexican Revolution.
So it was a segregated and discriminating environment, but they survived with their resilience and tenacity and hard work.
Families often lived in tar paper shanties or boxcars, working long hours on the railroad, the ice houses, stockyards, and the smelting foundry. Conditions were rough, but after a long day's work, they had something special they could turn to.
Was baseball a stress reliever?
Yes, it was.
When the Mexican immigrants came to America, they brought their love of baseball with them. Mario Escobar and John Hernandez remember growing up in the dugouts.
Back then, even the fans were so involved in it. There was a lot of betting going on in the stands.
It's never left me. I love the ball field. I love the ball field.
Because of discrimination, Hispanic communities along the railroad formed their own leagues in the early 1900s. It got so competitive, they would recruit talented players from Mexico just to come to the Midwest.
We had to do it a certain way, in our way, and we made it work for us.
Even after World War II, their love for the game continued through fast-pitch softball. Over the years, 4 generations of Mexican Americans brought to the game their language, food, music, and progress.
When I say progress, there is girls softball now. And they play it just as good as we do. And I love it. I love that progress.
To honor the rich history and contributions of their ancestors, the Hispanic community in KCK hosts the Los Sabios commemorative games every year.
Go, baby, go. There you go. Good play.
It takes place right where we started, New Argentine Eagles Nest Post 213. The founding fathers of this American Legion built their own diamond when they weren't wanted anywhere else. One of them was Catherine's dad.
It's touching in their hearts knowing that our fathers who started this were Mexican Americans, fought for our country.
Today, there's only 4 teams left in the greater KC area that continue the tradition of Mexican-American soft-pitch baseball. Their fear that the traditions will die with them.
You know, in fact, that's what's even happening nowadays.
They tell me their last hope is the new generation. Players like Jackson Ridings, who now fills in for his aging grandfather.
I was glad that he asked me to because I really wanted to. I'm mostly looking to try to make a good play to impress my grandpa.
In the coming years, no one really knows what Mexican-American soft-pitch baseball will look like. But folks here in the audience say they'll do anything to keep it alive for them.
All right, take your hats off and show your real colors.
Jian Kim, KSHB 41 News.
In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, the Royals kicked off their 3-game series against the Houston Astros with Viva Los Reales. The Royals honored a local Hispanic nonprofit organization that aims to help build a home for Latinx educators so they can find support and don't feel isolated. Edgar Palacios, the founder of Latinx Education Collaborative, had the honor of sitting in the Buck O'Neill Legacy Chair, while Diana Munoz got to throw out the first pitch.
I'm really humbled for the opportunity, and I also think it's so cool that Deanna and I get to go as colleagues, as friends. We've been working together for close to a decade now, and so that we get to celebrate the start of Hispanic Heritage Month at the stadium is going to be an incredible experience.
The Latinx Education Collaborative and the Latino Arts Foundation also collaborated on an Art as Mental Wellness exhibit. Visual artists and poets displayed their work at PH Coffee, featuring pieces that highlight Latino experiences with mental illness. Coming up, what's in a name? For one Latino with a legacy, it carries significant weight. And keeping the faith, how one Latino preacher hopes to inspire the next generation. We want to recognize a trailblazer in our community. Irene Ruiz passed away earlier this fall at the age of 102. She'll be remembered for serving as a fearless advocate for the Latino community. KSHB 41 News reporter Daniela Leon spoke with those working to keep her memory alive.
This is Irene Ruiz interviewing Mr. Ascension Hernandez.
60 oral history interviews with first-generation immigrants impacted by the 1951 Kansas City flood.
Mr. Hernandez is a government employee.
Just one of the many priceless contributions Irene Ruiz leaves behind.
Storytelling is an art form, and I think that's something my mom, she definitely mastered that.
The Texas-born educator moved to Kansas City in the 1960s. After working at Southwest High School for years, she went back to school, got a library science degree from Emporia State, and was later hired by the Kansas City Public Library. Conservant in Spanish, English, and Portuguese, as the daughter of a Mexican immigrant, she knew firsthand the importance of giving the Latino community a voice.
One of the biggest challenges was finding books and periodicals published in Spanish back in the 70s. It was very hard to come by. So she would have to order books from Spain because there weren't a lot of books being published here.
Her push to bring Spanish language materials to Kansas City was one of the many ways Ruiz helped preserve and enrich KC's Latino heritage, and can be seen today inside Irene Ruiz Biblioteca de las Americas, that still houses books and materials in Spanish.
Starting a Spanish language collection, being bilingual, making sure that the community, especially on the west side, always felt welcome in the library. Again, really pioneering that.
And it's that community that asked for their beloved library to be named after her and continues to honor her through countless letters.
She was the person that said, this is what we need, this is what we have to do, and this is what this library needs to do.
A proud Latina who encouraged La Raza to speak up.
They call her a pioneer. How do you want your mother's legacy to be remembered?
Keeping our library strong and encouraging all students, especially Latinos, to read, to write more, to speak well, to write well, to speak up for themselves.
Daniela Leon, KSHB 41 News.
Some Latinos connect to their identity through their faith. We talked with Reverend Tino Herrera, a senior pastor at Trinity United Methodist Church, using his culture as a source of inspiration. He hopes to pave a path for young Latinos who want a future in faith leadership. KSHB 41's Abby Dodge attended one of his Sunday services. She shares his message for those in and out of his congregation.
How y'all ladies doing?
All around good.
He's Will.
Reverend Tino Herrera has greeted the members of Trinity United Methodist Church for a year as their senior pastor.
I love this community. This community has taught me so much. My goal is to cultivate significant, meaningful relationships, but to impact our community, to invest in it.
Reverend Herrera says he didn't see his future in the church for years, with his own leaders and teachers lacking a reflection of his heritage. Herrera grappled with his own identity until recently.
She asked me, do you speak Spanish? And I said, I don't. And then one of the students said, he's a Mexican. And that really kind of froze me up when I was a kid.
With his role in the church, he hopes that's not a feeling any Kansas City kids experience inside the church's walls.
That they matter, that they have worth, that they are significant, and that their gifts are far and beyond, that can impact anything and everyone. That is something that I wish I was hearing when I was young.
But how do we also move forward in those seasons?
Messages he'll continue to preach for others.
Well, the truth is that our organizations, even our churches, we need to have those hard conversations because, again, if all we see are the same people that show up on a Sunday morning as far as leaders and not having a blend of different styles, it does more harm than actual good.
Abby Dodge, KSHB 41 News.
Coming up, celebrating La Cultura, what Fiesta Hispana means to our community. Plus, realizing the American dream, how a man from Mexico brought his business to Kansas City. In our effort to highlight good things happening in our community, we want to show you how Latinos in the Metro are celebrating their culture. Our reporter Gian Kim went to Fiesta Hispana and found out what the vendors say the first weekend of Hispanic Heritage Month is really all about.
You can proudly announce where you're from, and you feel like you have a little piece of home in Kansas City.
For a large part of the Latino population in Kansas City, this weekend is an opportunity to show up and embrace who they are.
We see everyone from not just Mexico, but from El Salvador, Veracruz, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, and then we have our locals.
It's been over 40 years since this event began at a smaller scale on Southwest Boulevard. Decades later, it now attracts more than 40,000 people. And for David Tinoco, it's the unfamiliar faces that make it beautiful.
What's it like to see that? Somebody outside of the community?
That's the goal. The education is not so much for keeping ours, but also embracing the other cultures and allow them to see the colorfulness, the pageantries.
Just hours ahead of the event, we caught up with vendors putting on their final touches. For 18 years, Selena Contreras has been at this tent, helping her father run their family business.
I can remember the first times we were coming out here just playing around like kids, and now getting to work alongside my dad, helping support the business is really great.
Along with the chance to make memories with Dad. She says being able to share her culture through food has been a blessing.
I love to watch people eat our food for the first time.
It's really moments like this organizers want to create over and over.
Something beautiful that we saw last year was people teaching others, like, oh, this is how you say beer, cerveza. This is how you say this. So it was such a beautiful experience to see them.
Gian Kim, KSHB 41 News.
The event ran the entire first weekend of Hispanic Heritage Month. Many migrants leave their homeland in search of their American dream. Roberto Alvarez came to the U.S. with one mission, and his dream has now become a reality. Our reporter Marlon Martinez highlights a man who sacrificed everything to leave Mexico in order to build the future he wants.
A tradition passed down by his parents.
Mis padres tenían también una taquería. Y ahí fue donde empecé yo.
Born and raised in Chiapas, Mexico, Roberto Alvarez is no stranger to authentic Mexican food.
Teníamos meta que siempre he trabajado en lo que es el ramo restaurantero.
After making the tough decision to leave his parents and the life behind in Mexico, Alvarez migrated to the U.S. with one goal in mind.
Teníamos en mi mente era venir y abrir un negocio de comida, ¿entiendes? Sea restaurante o una taquería.
And like many migrants who crossed the southern border for better opportunities, he encountered many barriers.
Muy bonito el país, aunque un poquito frustrado por el idioma y pero pudimos poco a poco ir adaptándonos la cultura y todo eso.
But he never gave up on his American dream.
Salir adelante y poder al llegar se tuvo la visión de que sí puede uno lograr sus sueños aquí, ¿me entiende?
And after years of sacrificing family time to save money and buy his own truck, his family business is serving up a bit of Mexico right here in our community.
Sentirnos orgullosos que estamos colaborando en el crecimiento de este país, ¿me entiende? Mano de obra, llámese ramo restaurantero, construcción, siento que somos una parte muy importante de este país.
Marlon Martinez, KSHB 41 News.
This family-owned truck is located in 917 South Parker Street in Olathe. And for my Spanish speakers, we have the full Spanish version of this story on KSHB.com. Coming up, representing a changing America, how a local talent agency is highlighting diversity. And going inside a major milestone, we break down the economics of a modern-day quinceañera. This Hispanic Heritage Month, we're highlighting a business you might not often think about. A Kansas City talent agency working to increase representation in the things that you watch. As a voice for everyone, KSHB 41 News reporter Daniela Leon shows us how they're doing that.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, action.
Working towards an inclusive future, Kansas City-based Black and Brown models.
I got my associate's degree.
Brands are recognizing that, and marketing to the diverse community that the United States is becoming is very important to them.
Segura Talent Agency is a modeling agency in Kansas City. Owner Nicholas Segura says brands like Google, Price Chopper, and Wendy's are wanting to appeal to minority consumers and are turning to his agency, who represents ethnic talent of all ages, for commercial, print, and voiceover work.
Diverse audiences are more sensitive to seeing their faces in brands.
When I found out there were plenty of job opportunities.
One of the fastest growing minority groups, Hispanic and Latinos. According to a 2021 Nielsen report, Latino buying power is projected to be $2.6 trillion in just about 3 years, further pushing the demand for minority models.
We can represent in big ways. The more impactful that it will be for the future.
It's also shining a spotlight on the communities other models represent.
I don't think I know anybody who's living in Kansas City who's from Fiji.
Each job varies, but some models can start making $100 an hour for one commercial shoot. But the impact representation has on them and consumers is priceless.
The best thing ever that agencies like this exist to give us a platform to put ourselves out there, our faces out there.
Daniela Leon, KSHB 41 News.
With the Chiefs Super Bowl win and the upcoming World Cup, Kansas City is a place where brands are wanting to develop marketing campaigns targeting one of the fastest growing demographics in the country, Hispanics and Latinos. So the future is bright. We're wrapping up our Hispanic Heritage Month special by highlighting an important tradition for many Latinas. A quinceañera celebrates girls going from childhood into young adulthood. These types of celebrations can come with a big bill, however, which is only getting bigger due to inflation. Daniela Leon spoke with the girls celebrating her quinceañera and a woman who works in the industry to find out whether they think the cost of the celebration is worth it.
Ditching the sneakers and putting on her first pair of heels, as her familia and amigos hold back tears and watch this quinceañera in her sparkling Cinderella gown get her last toy and be crowned.
I've been actually looking forward to this day a long time ago.
A quinceañera, a staple in Latina culture, marking the transition into young Latina adulthood. Filled with surprise dancing, fireworks, bands, salsa dancing, it's a fiesta that's priceless to the Hernandez familia and a reflection of this quinceañera's values.
We all dream about it, and some girls say that they don't want one, but once you're, going close to that age, you really start dreaming about your day.
She's so intelligent and she's so nice. I'm so proud of her.
Just like the wedding industry, inflation is costing Hispanic families more dinero to throw quinceañeras. Each family's budget varies, but these are some of the expenses families are willing to spend, according to quinceañera.com.
A Latina girl, at that age, they start to see like, I'm Latina. These are my culture. These are our traditions.
Jacqueline Camargo, owner of Quinceañera Magazine KC, says some families rely on godparents or extended family to offset costs, but the demand will always be there. Her magazine features quinceañeras on every budget, but she says some KC families are known to spend upwards of $40,000 to $50,000.
It's a really good way to start to engage brands, services, products with the Latin consumers.
And for future quinceañeras, they say the memories will be priceless and are ready to continue this Latin tradition.
Ever since I was little, like 3, I've always like, Mom, this is how I want it. I want a big dress, my crown, a huge party with the banda.
I would just say whenever it's time for your day, just have fun. Don't enjoy it all as you can because it only lasts one day.
We have an entire section dedicated to Hispanic Heritage Month on our website, KSHB.com, and there you can find all the stories we've done in the past month. We also recognize that these stories are important all year round. So if you know about something newsworthy happening in our community, please send your ideas to this email, newsdesk@kshb.com. We want to thank all those who shared their perspectives with us throughout Hispanic Heritage Month. Y por favor, envía tus historias para que podamos ser una voz para todos.